Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Political Pundits. We are PICKS. Yes, that's who we are. You dwell on that thought, however you so please. Tonight, we're going to be talking about our election predictions for 2 days from now. It's going to be the election. The results are going to come in, and soon we will find out who the next president is. Will it be Trump again, or will it be sleepy Joe Biden? We'll see.
All right, so first we're going to fill in the safe states. So I have a map of the safe states pulled up. The left map is mine and the right map is his. Welcome back. I just finished filling in both of our maps and ours differ a little bit for the safe states. So I have Biden at 203 electoral votes for his safe states and 76 electoral votes for Trump's safe states. And he has the same amount for Biden, but 100 electoral votes for safe states. So what's the difference between our maps is that he characterized Nebraska's first district, Kansas, um, Mississippi, and what was the last one?
Tennessee.
And Tennessee for safe states. So that gives Donald Trump 24 extra electoral votes. So we're going to start moving west from east on our calls for specific states. So first is the state of Alaska, and I think that's going to go by a lean margin because has narrowed up quite a bit, and I don't think it is competitive, but it's not in reach for Biden. So I think it's going to be lean. There we go.
Yeah, if you're gonna ask me, I'm just gonna put it as likely. I think Trump's gonna probably outperform the polls there, like he kind of did last time.
Yeah, that makes sense. So moving on, we now have the state of Nevada, which Clinton won in 2016. Therefore, I'm going to give it likely to Biden because I don't feel like Trump could win this state whatsoever, and I think it's going to be by a comfortable margin.
And I'm gonna put it in a lean margin, but it's more like in the high lean, so it's like maybe 4.6, like Biden. So it's kind of like in the high lean.
Yeah, so it's pretty close because mine's going to be low likely. So moving on from there, we have the state of Arizona, and Arizona I think is going to be lean Biden. It's going to be by 1 or 2%. It's going to be close. It's almost tilt, but I think it's going to go to Biden by a lean margin.
All right, and I'm gonna classify my Arizona as tilt Biden. I don't know why I feel that way. I just think it's gonna be extremely close, down to that 1%. I just think it's gonna be a highly contentious state that Biden wants to flip.
All right, and moving on from Arizona, we have the state of Montana, which I think is going to be likely for Donald Trump. While it's not a plus 15, I think it's going to be slightly narrower. And Trump does not have a full grasp on the state, but it definitely is not competitive.
I think it's likely to.
That's the wrong color. There we go. Moving on from there, we have the state of Colorado, which I believe is almost safe. I'm classifying it as likely, but it's almost a safe state.
I'm gonna classify it as safe.
You're classifying it as safe?
Yes.
All
I
right.
I, I think that Colorado's too far gone. They like their weed.
That's true. All right, next up, moving eastward, we have the state of Texas, which I believe is going to be lean Trump, and it's only going to be by at most 1.5%. So it is going to be close, but it's not going to be tilt.
Right, in my Texas, it's gonna be lean, but I think it's gonna be around 2-ish points for Trump.
Moving eastward, we have the state of Kansas, which I believe is going to be likely Trump. The Senate race there is extremely competitive. While it's still going to go to a Republican, it is much narrower than 15 points, so I think it's going to drag down the state vote overall to below plus 15, making it likely. And from there, we have Nebraska's, what's that, first, which I also think is going to be likely, but just barely. And I know he disagrees and he has it safe, but it's going to be close to 15, but it won't be above 15 points. And now we have Nebraska's second, and I'll let you start off.
I think it's gonna be lean Biden.
Lean Biden.
I think it'll go lean.
I also agree with that, so I'm going to fill both of ours in for lean. All right, next we have the state of Minnesota, and I believe due to the polling and how it's above the national average, it is definitely going to be likely for Joe Biden. I don't think there's any way Trump could carry this state whatsoever.
I agree with the same thing. Put mine as likely.
Cool. And then we go down to Iowa. I think Iowa is going to be tilt Biden. I know you're going to disagree with that, but it's going to be close, and I think it's just going to edge out Trump there. And I think Theresa Greenfield is actually going to win over Joni Ernst.
And mine's going to be lean Trump. I think Trump's going to probably win around 2 points. I'm just looking at the a little bit more of the polling. It's favoring Trump more. I think Trump has an advantage with those type of white voters that live in Iowa. So I think that Trump's going to win the state.
All right, and moving south, we have the state of Missouri. I think this is going to be likely Trump. This is one of the Republican stronghold states, but I don't think this election cycle it's going to reach that plus 15 margin. It's still going to be up there in the double digits. I just don't think it's going to reach plus 15.
And I think Missouri's going to be likely to. And I pretty much think that after this election, it's going to just bounce back to safe.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because it would be more like a normal election, hopefully.
Sorry.
Never know. Maybe the U.S. will collapse after this election.
That's really not out of the realm of possibilities.
Or Kanye.
No.
Kanye's a Republican nominee.
No, never. All right, skipping down to the two states that he has declared safe. I'm gonna classify Mississippi and Tennessee, and I believe they're both going to be high likelies. I don't think they're going to reach that plus 15, but I do think they're going to go to Trump by at least double digits. Again, these are strong Republican states. I just think in this election, where it's more of a blue wave year, it's just not going to reach that 15 threshold. Next, we have the state of Wisconsin, and looking at the polling as well as other calculations that I have run on the state with their county level and stuff, I think this is also going to be either a high lean or low likely for Biden. So I'm going to classify it as lean.
I'm going to do the same thing as a lean. I lean.
And might as well go down the rest of the Rust Belt here while we're at it. Michigan, I think it's going to be likely Trump, or not likely Trump, likely Biden. It's polling just under Minnesota, and Minnesota's out of reach for Trump, and I think Michigan's going to be out of reach for Trump too, by similar margins.
I put it the same as me, and likely Biden.
So we can see on my map, I already have Joe Biden winning the election with 272 electoral votes, with 8 states or districts left to classify. And on his map, he has 266, so he's also almost ready to declare Biden the winner. All right, so next we have the state of Florida.
Yeah, for the state of Florida, my projection, I think it's going to tilt for Trump. I think it's going to barely edge out for Trump. I think he can make up some of that ground with the Cubans and stuff. And I just think, it's his home state now. I think he has a little bit of that advantage. He's the incumbent, and incumbents typically do better in Florida. I think it's going to stick with him just barely.
See, I'm gonna declare the opposite here, and I think it's gonna go tilt Biden. It's gonna be extremely close. It might be even as close as the year 2000, but I think Biden is just gonna barely edge this one out, and we will see within the next 72 hours as we're going to see the results of Florida on election night.
Yeah, and pretty much whoever wins that state is pretty much going to be the winner.
Here, you can start off with.
Or not the winner. Sorry. If Trump wins that state, he still has a chance. If Biden wins that state, he's going to be the winner of the election.
I agree with that.
All right. So next we have the state of Ohio. That was a state that went for Trump some time ago. I think it's going to pull out from again by a lean margin, maybe around 2 to 3 points, in my opinion. I think it's going to stick with him.
I also agree with that. I think it is also going to be a lean margin.
All right. And the next state that we have here is the state of Georgia. I think it's going to stick with Trump around anywhere in between 1 to 2. I think it's going to stick with him.
So I don't. Margin?
I personally can't see a situation with him.
So I may be putting a little too much trust in the polling here, but I think Georgia is also going to be tilt Biden. It's going to be really close. Voter suppression is going to have a lot to say on the outcome of Georgia, but I think with the record turnout we are having, it's going to go to Biden just by under a point.
And the next state that we have here is South Carolina, which has recently become more competitive, but I think it's going to go likely Trump. I think it's going to stick with them pretty solidly.
Yeah, just like the other states that I've classified as likely, where it has just come under the 15 points. I agree in saying this is going to be likely.
Right, so the next state that I have up is the state of North Carolina. In my opinion, I think it's going to barely edge out for Trump, below that 1% margin. I think it's going to be closer, and definitely last time in other elections. I think it'll be on the verge of flipping, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough, just in my opinion.
Again, I have the opposite opinion. I think it's going to be just under 0.5% to Joe Biden. I believe it is going to be extremely close. They're going to have to recount this state at least once, but seeing the polls having Biden up by 2 or 3 points, I think he's going to walk away with this with a lean margin or it's tilt margin. Sorry.
And the next state that we have is the state of Pennsylvania. I'm going to put that in the low lean for Biden. I think it's going to be considerably closer than I think the polls are suggesting. I think that Biden's probably going to pull that state up because it is his home state. He's from Scranton. He has those roots there and the union support.
So while he says it's going to be low lean, I think it's going to be high lean. It's going to be polling just under Michigan or Wisconsin, sorry, which is a high lean. So it's probably going to be a middle, probably. So looking at electoral maps, he now has Biden winning now that he has 286 electoral votes. Trump's so far 247. We have one state and one district to go.
So the next state I'm going to have New Hampshire is likely Biden. I think he'll probably win it about 6 points or so, just in my opinion. I think he'll win it about 6.
I also agree with this, except I think it's going to be around 7 or 8. I don't think it's going to be as nearly as close as 2016, where it was barely like a percent.
Now, why is Trump not as close in that state? Is there something about it?
I really don't know. I think like Clinton barely carried it by I think it was like 0.3%. I think it's just gonna like swing back. Like I think this state is very vulnerable to waves, so I think it's gonna jerk back to the left all the way to like +7 or 8. But I think it's gonna resettle back down at like +5.
All right, and the last thing that we have here is Nebraska second. I think it's going to barely tilt out for
You
Trump.
mean Maine's second district?
What did I say?
You said Nebraska's second district.
Oh, so Maine second district. I think that's going to barely tilt out for Trump. I think he's going to end up winning the state again. Although he is doing worse in that northeast region, I think that he'll get it out.
I disagree, and I think it's going to be almost a dead tie. But I think Biden is going to be able to walk out of this with a victory in Maine second district for that one extra electoral vote. Only because the polling has been extremely favorable to Biden the entire season. While there haven't been many polls, there have been a few good polls, and I think there's actually been a recent A-rated pollster, and it has Biden up by 4 or 5 points. So I think it's going to become a tilt margin, probably maybe a little over 1%, but I don't think it's going to be above that.
Here are the two maps that we have here, and we can see that there are two different scenarios here. You have an electoral landslide, and I have a fairly close election. So it's just a matter of a few states that kind of changes this. Under your scenario, Trump really can't challenge it because it's a landslide victory. But under my scenario, it looks like Trump, if he wanted to, could challenge the state of Arizona, Pennsylvania, maybe Nebraska second. He would probably go to SCOTUS.
Yeah, but he is going to have an uphill battle with challenging any of these results because there have been state legislators that are rejecting GOP lawsuits against some ballots. So, like 100,000 ballots are currently being challenged in Texas. The Texas SCOTUS has rejected the case, but they were refiled and sent to another judge. So, the fact that the Texas GOP led SCOTUS rejected throwing out over 100,000 ballots shows that it's not going to be an easy hill for Trump to climb if he wants to challenge the election results.
And I'll just say that the main reason why I think that the election's a little bit closer on my map is because of the whole issue with ballots being thrown out, which particularly hurts minority communities. I heard in some counties that they're being thrown out for black communities at a 2-to-1 ratio. And I think that's going to favor the GOP in many different ways, and it's probably going to give them a better edge in several states. All right. Thank you guys for watching the video. We are the Political Pundits, DICKS. You think about that as you go to bed. Good night.